Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's live, which I'm so honoured to be hosting. It's part of our Pharmacy 360 programme about movement and exercise and how it impacts our health. And tonight I'm very just thrilled to invite Dr. Robert Kelly on. He's a professor, consultant cardiologist. He works in the Beacon Hospital, but he's also a lifestyle medicine physician. So I'm going to just get him on here. See, he's requested Professor Kelly's first Instagram Live, which will be great to be a part of. Let me just see. It should come up any moment. 1 sec now. Except this is always the hardest part. But yeah, the connection between our physical activity, our movement, exercise, and our cardiac health is just so connected. And Dr. Robert Kelly is going to shine a light on how to, make some subtle changes in our lifestyle. Accept. Why is this not accepting? This happened the other night as well, so bear with us. It will connect eventually. Maybe, Dr. Kelly, if you could try one more time to just add yourself again, and it might come through. So with regards to chronic illnesses and health, we live in a world where, the leading cause of premature death worldwide is heart disease. So whatever we can do to improve our heart health is going to help prevent heart disease in the long run. And the aim of lifestyle medicine, which is science-backed, it's all evidence-based, is to not only just prevent, but also treat, and in some cases also reverse. So it's never too late to make lifestyle changes. Dr. Kelly, if you could maybe just ask to join again, that would be great, because I can see you're there, but it's just not allowing you in just right now. So if you can click request to join, and then we'll get you in. Lots of people here tonight, so you're all very welcome. I know it's been a long couple of days in Ireland with the lack of sunshine, but there's a bit of blue skies today in between the rain. So Dr. Kelly, if you can just click request to join, we will get this going. Sure, I'll keep talking in the meantime. I'll tell you a bit about Professor Kelly. Oh, I think it's coming on now. Accept. Why is that not coming on? Oh, yay. Great.
There you go.
I told you that was the hardest part.
Well, somebody popped up and said, come out of it and go back in again. So that's what I did.
But thank you very much to that person. So we have you here now. So welcome, first of all, and thank you everyone for joining. Tonight our focus is going to be about our heart health, but with particular attention on physical activity and the importance of moving the body and exercising, and how it's all linked to our cardiac health and overall well-being, which is the aim of the game, is to not just live longer but live well.
That's right.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your lifestyle medicine training? Because I know that's a big part of you're a cardiac consultant, but a cardiologist, but also you've trained in lifestyle medicine.
So I am a cardiologist. So I look after anything to do with your heart. And my introduction to lifestyle medicine came about 10 years ago. Ironically, it was trying to help patients to deal with the cause or the root cause of why they came to see me as a cardiologist, because it's very easy to give you tablets and it's very easy to do procedures on you, like stents. But ironically, lots of people come back because they don't deal with the root cause of the problem. Mm-hmm. And so the root cause of the problem can actually be explained in lifestyle medicine, which is really nice. So one of the GPs in the southeast of Ireland told me about a lifestyle medicine meeting in America. And I went to that meeting with a very open-hearted mind at the time. He said, just go, see what you think. I sat in the meeting. I learned actually all about physical activity from a bunch of people in Harvard and a lot of other things. And those of you know me know I brought the team from Harvard to Ireland subsequently to the College of Surgeons, and that has become an ongoing relationship. But as a consequence of that, I saw an opportunity to integrate lifestyle medicine into cardiology because it's a perfect fit. And I've been doing that. And I did the exams then in lifestyle medicine, the American board exams. So I'm a board certified lifestyle medicine consultant, and I'm actually the only board certified lifestyle medicine consultant in the whole country. So, and the GP actually, I think, is one of a few bunches of GPs who's actually US board certified as well. So that's my journey into lifestyle medicine.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I know you've just recently published a book. I have it here, the Heart book. I've read it. It's absolutely brilliant. I've got highlighter all over it. Oh, stop. But what I love about it is that it's very much for everybody. It's suitable for everybody. And it's all about encouraging people to first learn the facts about, you know, the dangers of not living an unhealthy lifestyle, but also giving really simple ideas of change in various aspects. And also I love that you bring in the mind body connection as well, and the importance of how we think, and you know, even social connections, and you know, connect, like the risk of isolation and trying to prevent that as well, and how it impacts our health.
So just for the viewer, lifestyle medicine is all about prevention. It's about management as well. So you can manage things like heart disease by lifestyle medicine. And it's also about the potential to reverse certain conditions that are called chronic diseases. So if you've got high blood pressure, you can reverse it through a diet. If you have a high cholesterol, you can do the same. If you have diabetes, you can do the same. If you're overweight, you can do the same. If you have heart disease, you can potentially reverse it through a combination of the diet and other pillars. And the typical pillars we refer to in lifestyle medicine are physical activity and exercise, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Healthy eating, which is largely about eating diets like Mediterranean-based diets, because they're very well studied scientifically, and they can reduce your risk by well over 50%. And then you're talking about things like lowering your stress level, getting a good night's sleep, not smoking, not drinking too much. And then you mentioned social connection, which is a really, really interesting risk factor, because most of us wouldn't realize that until COVID came along, where a lot of people who were very isolated got a lot of health issues, both physical and mental. And so there's abundant, again, science showing now that if you spend more time, particularly with family, or even do physical exercise with other people, you get a huge increased benefit in terms of risk reduction from having things like heart attacks and strokes.
Brilliant. And it's really looking at that holistic approach, isn't it? Like looking at the whole person and not just one issue. It's trying to get to that root problem. And that's what we're trying to do in Pharmacy 360 as well, with our modules on nutrition, exercise, stress, sleep. It's very, like, there's a lovely parallel between it, which is why we're so thrilled to have you on tonight. If you were to meet someone, like, I know we're going to focus mostly on physical activity or the effects of physical inactivity. It's probably a big question, but you know, we're talking about behavioral changes. How does somebody go about creating new positive habits?
So in addition to all my cardiology training and my lifestyle medicine training, one of the challenges in healthcare is that when you're a doctor, you just tell people what to do. We hand out something from the Irish Heart Foundation. We go, off you go, read that, and come back in 6 months or a year. And we expect miracles in most people's situations. And most people come back no smaller, no skinnier, not smoking, et cetera, et cetera. So I took it upon myself that I had to find a way to try and empower patients to make changes. And when you look at this a little bit closer, there are lots of different techniques. Motivational interviewing is a very popular one. But I kind of found a process through the US around teaching people small steps as a way to build up behaviors. Because if you do literally like walking, you put one foot in front of the other and in front of the other, in front of the other, you do it enough because you like doing it, you will tend to continue doing it. So it's all about picking little behaviors that you like doing, that give you a sense of enjoyment doing them. And in that way, if you like them enough, they'll become habitual, or you'll form habits that way. So, and that's quite easy to teach. And most people might think, oh my God, I mean, that's too easy. The reality is that most people are really bad at doing the easy things in life. That's what the problem is. We all massively
Yeah.
overcomplicate things.
Yeah, it's so true because like if you asked everybody, we know what we should be doing, but then why don't we? So why is it so hard? And yeah, I love that in your book you also mention a good bit about like rewarding yourself if you set a small goal and then celebrating it. You mentioned that quite a lot. Why is that so important?
So if you just take the premise of what I said a minute ago about making a behavior habitual. So if we're focused on physical exercise and you want to start walking, which is a good example. So if you want to start walking, you don't have to go out the front door of the house and walk for a mile. You could go out and walk up and down your short road or to the front of the path and back again. But you'll only repeat doing that if you remember to do it. So you need what's called a trigger to remind you to do it. So say after dinner, put on the shoes, walk out the door. And then the only way you're going to like doing that every single night, because you'll get bored after a period of time, purely because motivation has this nasty habit of not being constant. It goes up and down. One day you might like to do it, the next day you won't. So the trick on doing behavior is that you have to like doing it. And so when you celebrate, so my mentor teaches a way where you can celebrate with a big smile, or you can have a high five or a thumbs up. And you have to do that immediately. So you go out the door, you walk to the other side of the road, you put your thumb up, I did it, and then you turn around, you go back in again. And the purpose behind that is that the emotional piece of your behavior is what gets you to do things again and again, i.e. you like it. So if you like behaviors, you will repeat them. Repeated behaviors are what habits are. And so that is the way to get you to do behaviors. And if you do not do the celebration piece, you will find very disappointingly that after a couple of days, you will have no interest in going out the front door. You won't make any effort to do it. Now, there's lots of other things you do need to do to build up the habit, but the important point is just enjoying it and actually celebrating the fact that you enjoy it. And it works. It works really, really well.
Brilliant. And probably not like shooting for the stars, making a realistic goal that you can achieve. You don't want it too easy, but if you make it too hard at the start, you'll get overwhelmed. So I think to have like a nice progression is important as well.
I think it's really important for people to understand is some of you are athletes. Some of you love doing 10K. I've been on other people's shows and I've said to them, my patients aren't those patients. My patients have a struggle getting off the couch. If I can get somebody to put on their runners off the couch, that's progress. If I can get you to get out the front door and just walk to your car, that might be progress. You set goals that are related to the individual. If you set goals for the day that you might do 5 minutes of exercise, that's progress for the person who sits at the couch. If you're the runner and you want to do the fact that you don't get out every day, you set yourself a goal that you get out 3 times a week as opposed to twice a week. That's your goal. But it's very relative to individuals because it's not all the same and it's not fair. Those of you who work will understand there are plenty of champions in the workplace who do everything. But 80% of the people are not the champions. And 80% of the people might be motivated by the champions. It's just down to try to get started. And again, by doing the celebration and you like it, you're quite likely to do more of it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, no, it's so true. Like those goals and the celebration is so important. And do you have any anecdotal stories you could share about people who have people that have really started from the point of barely being able to get up off the couch and how they've kind of overcome that mountaintop?
Well, I'll share the best story I have, which is everybody's interested in longevity at the moment. Everybody wants to live forever, even probably half the audience or more. So I have a patient, he's quoted in the book, and he was quoted in the book and I wrote the book. So at age of 95 years of age, he came into my office at Christmas and said, I want to tell you something. I walked 500 kilometers last year. And I said, wow, now that's incredible. And the big thing for older people is like people like your grandparents, the big risk is that they fall. And when you're walking around Dublin in particular, you will trip on the pavement, you'll trip on everything. And he's done that. So the way he does it, he goes into his back garden and he might walk 20 laps of his garden. Now, his garden is about the size of most people's living rooms. It's small. So he just makes an effort. He might go out 3 times in the day because he can do it that way. He knows soft parts in the garden if he's going to slip, the places that he should slip. So this year he actually came in a couple of weeks ago and said, I just want to tell you, I'm up to 600 kilometers. Now, the point to highlight is you'll all remember during COVID, there was a very famous British Army general who walked to raise money for the NHS nurses and just did it for the purpose of COVID. This patient of mine has been doing this since he was 70 years of age. He had a stent put in at 93 years of age. He's very grateful for that. And he's an extraordinary man. And if you ask these people, because you all want to live longer, he purposefully gets up every day. He intentionally goes out and does the walking. He triggers himself. He does the little celebration in his own way. He views his safety first, and he is convinced that exercise is the kind of magic to his longevity. It's part of it. So, and I have a couple of other patients who are like that, who get to be very fortunate to live long in life. And even despite having heart problems, or even some of them despite having cancer, the commitment to doing that late in life is fantastic. I have lots of other younger patients who I've managed to shift off the couch. I have lots of patients I've managed to get them to stop smoking. And I have lots of patients who will buy into the idea that when they realize the significance of their health risks, that there are opportunities to do things about it. So I coach a lot of patients collectively to try and do those things.
Brilliant. And I love that coach approach. It's very, the patient is involved in the decision making, which is, it's not just somebody telling you what to do, because often that puts people's defenses up. So it's important to kind of come around to it yourself. And when we talk about walking in particular and steps, I know in your book, you've a couple of really good facts about the benefits of reaching a certain milestone of steps. And it's not as many as people would think.
So there's a lot of quantifying of how much exercise you need to do. So I will argue, if you take the example of the person who sits on the couch, so the person who sits on the couch who does nothing, and be warned that some of you are that person because you sit in front of your laptop all day at work, or if you used to work from home, you might never move, do any exercise. And so the risk of having a cardiac event like a heart attack in that cohort of people is about 12 to 15%. People who just do nothing and like that all day. And it's a very easy bad habit to fall into. Mm-hmm. If you want to deal with the point of view of reducing your risk of that perspective, what you need to do is do something. And ironically, if you do as much as like 3,000 steps, 3,000, you get a benefit. If you want the real benefit, you want to be hitting over 10,000 steps. The more you do, the more benefit you get. The cutoff is probably around 16 or 17,000 steps. Now, some people hate steps. They hate the idea that they will use their watch. They hate the idea they can't count. They learn all sorts of tricks that if you move your arm around, you can get your watch to think it's a step. But the point to it is that you take a moderate level of exercise, ideally for about 30 or 40 minutes every day of the week. The heart associations recommend that you do an hour and 150 minutes a week of cardio-based exercise. Moderate pace is just where you're about to be able to talk to somebody if they were beside you. Moderate paced exercise is not walking the dog where the dog stops to go for a pee and you start walking again. It is not the same thing. So you want to start with something small and build up to it. That's the most successful way. You just want to get into a habit that you trigger yourself to do it all the time. But they're the numbers. They're numbers that have been around. And they're numbers, bear in mind, it's not just for your heart. It's also for your cancer risk. It's for your length of life risk. It's for your risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. It's for your risk of staying well and minimizing falls. So you can't say enough about how beneficial exercise is.
Yeah. For people that have suffered from a cardiac event and are very nervous, now I know there are some really good cardiac rehabilitation programs, yours in particular, but we're seeing in the pharmacy lots of people that they're actually afraid to get breathless, say after a heart attack. So they're worried that if they do, swing their arms and pound the pavement too much, and that they're putting themselves at risk and their heart might not be able for it. So for this fear of breathlessness, do you have any advice for those people?
So I think what's important is when you've had a heart attack is that you do the cardiac rehabilitation programs. Mm-hmm. I know there's a challenge in some different hospitals to get access to those things, and that's an issue. Mm-hmm. I know there's some people around the country who offer these services one-to-one. I think it's important to do that because you get a very good sense of reassurance as a patient that when you're up on a treadmill, as an example, where your heart rate is comfortable for you, mm-hmm. or where you find when you're doing different activities, say you can check your heart rate perhaps on your watch as to where you should go to. And you also get a sense of confidence when doing that and doing it with other people. So I find that the cardiac rehab almost completes the circle of having had a cardiac event. It releases you back to your own life, and it gives you an opportunity to live that way. Now, absolutely, you have to take steps, one small step at a time, very much in the same situation. You cannot expect to go back to the athlete that you were. And I mean, just to put people's mind at ease, there's plenty of athletes, I'm afraid, out there who have heart attacks, who are marathon runners, who are Olympians. Nobody is immune from this. It doesn't matter how healthy you might think you are, to think that it sort of in some way prevents you from having a cardiac event. But you cannot expect to go back to that level of exercise. So I strongly encourage patients to start small. If you find it's too much, you just back off. You don't have to achieve everything. One of the greatest things about learning habits is the gradation that you do one small step today, one small step tomorrow. That'll get you into routine. I mean, every athlete started that way. There ain't a single athlete in this world who achieves the distance in the time they wanted in one day. It doesn't happen like that. So I think that, you may have had a big heart attack. You might be on lots of medication. You might have been told it's going to take some time for that to settle down. In a lot of people, it's very variable. Some people, it's a matter of weeks. Some people, it's a matter of months. You may be on medications that make you breathless. They might be slowing your heart rate too much. You may not like the effect you get from those. Beta blockers are pretty notorious for doing that. And you have other people in your life as well, like your spouse or like your family or your friends who are there. Now, some of your friends might be very athletic and say, well, sure, I had a heart attack before and I was able to do this and that. Do not judge yourself by your friends. Judge yourself by yourself. Your friends, while they might be trying to help you and might be trying to egg you on to do better, don't listen to them. Just take your time, do the program whenever they can do it, ask questions. If you're not sure, get back in touch with the cardiology team or the nurses to give you some guidance on what you're doing, and be very comfortable and very confident in the fact that you can move a little bit. And bear that in mind. And that's what the key is. You don't want to end up like the fellow on the couch, or you don't want to end up back in the depths of work where you're not doing anything. You want to take from this, as we said at the beginning, there are reasons that you had the heart attack in the first place. You have to find ways to deal with those going forward, because you don't want to have another one.
Yeah. And as well, like I know we both know that if you do move your body and you work out, like the endorphins that are released in the body do make you feel good. So I think a lot of people are kind of afraid to just commit to it. But when you start to do little bits here and there and you literally just feel better, try to connect that to, your motivator then to get out and to connect it to your health and the reasons behind, like, you want to be able to be there for your family or to meet your friends or whatever your reason may be, but try to connect the reason for putting the runners on, or even whether it's just sit and stand off your chair, whatever you're able for, but to actually connect that to why you're doing it and that you're going to feel better for it.
Absolutely, and the endorphins are right. And you get endorphins even from what we talked about, the celebration of, look, I managed to be able to walk up one flight of stairs today without getting short of breath. And even the heart failures and the sickest patients, we teach all them how to exercise a little bit more and a little bit more, because the exercise is very good for healing your heart. And it's very good, not just for the endorphins, it's very good for other properties, the way blood vessels work. So, just give it time. You can't expect everything to just go away. Most people have heart attacks are in their 40s and their 50s. They tend to have put the damage into their systems for the previous 30 years. It's not that you just suddenly do something wrong in your 50s and it happens to you. So, as I said, it takes time. It's going to take time to change all the other pillars as well. But don't beat up on yourself. And don't beat up on yourself because you have a bad day. Just tomorrow, you're a little bit more refreshed. Try it again tomorrow. And just be patient to that. And that's the really hard bit of all of this, because everybody would love if they clicked their fingers and all their problems were to go away, and they'd be cured and they'd be healthy and they'd live forever. Everybody'd love that. But that's the biggest myth, I'm afraid, there is out there. There is no kind of magic bullet that we have in medicine for anything.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, when it comes to physical activity, one of the great things is that if you do that, it will knock on to so many other of the pillars in lifestyle medicine. So you probably will think more about what you're going to have to eat before and after you exercise. Probably going to be more conscious about consuming your water. We know that physical activity helps to reduce levels of stress and build stress resilience, or helps to manage stress. So there's another point that you mentioned, and I think it ties in very well to physical activity, and that's social health prescriptions and the impact of like that isolation can have on our health. So what recommendations would you have for patients when you're trying to tie in physical activity, but also knock on to like prevent that loneliness and your social health prescription? I love that.
So I'm going to tell you a story based on a contact I had today. So I bumped into a dear friend who's a GP in Kildare today. And he shared a story with me of an 80-plus-year-old man who came in to see him 2 weeks ago, who said to him that he was just not feeling right. And the biggest problem he had in his life is most of his friends at his age have died. And so he identified that he was quite lonely. And so he struck up a chat with the patient about things he still likes in life, which included supporting the GAA in his local county. So he said to him, I'm not sure if you're spiritually inclined, but can I suggest that for the next 2 weeks, you go down to the church every morning for 10 o'clock Mass. Now, you don't have to pray, you don't have to believe, but go down there. And then you're to go into the coffee shop that's next door to the church after Mass and go in and have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee with the people who are in there, and do that for the next 2 weeks. So he said to me today, he said he met him yesterday, and he said the man was back, and the man said to him, oh my God, Dr. Dan, this is just quite incredible. I have a whole new group of friends. I have 3 or 4 people. I meet them every day. They all love talking about the GAA in the local county. I couldn't be happier. I said, thank you so much. That is social prescription. That is loneliness personified in social connection, particularly where you're maybe on your own, you may be widowed, you may be in a situation that you want it for your parents. Maybe a lot of people watching today here who want to do this for mom if they're on their own, or dad if they're on their own. And I think, you know, as I said, whether the spiritual piece is part of that particular person's life doesn't really matter. It's just the community engagement. And, you know, there's so many things in everybody's communities that are actually really, really good for your health. And I think one of the most critical things at the minute is, particularly since COVID, there's a huge amount of social disconnection. It's across all levels. It's not that your mother or your father loses the other person. It's as much as yourself. It's as much as the time you spend on your phone. It's as much as the time you spend away from your friends. And it's so, so important to break that, because the social connection risk factor for heart disease and for premature death from things like heart disease and strokes is as high as the risk, if not higher, than smoking is, than inactivity is, than other risk factors like stress and those types of pillars are. So it's something that a lot of people are very, very aware of. So, I mean, simple things like going out and meeting people, you know, in your local gym, joining. You go down to a free gym, there's plenty of them, go and meet other people, go and play football in the local university or community. Just get involved in doing things. Go and do things with your kids in schools and get involved with other parents, because meeting people is so positive for your health. It really, really is.
And on the back of that positive kind of mindset, and you do speak a lot about the mind-body connection and the power of being grateful for things, and that positive mindset, like that is, I think people don't realize how connected it is to our brain health and our brain function.
So when I did the lifestyle medicine program in Harvard, somebody brought my attention to the mind-body medicine program. And the mind-body medicine program is run by a very famous cardiologist called, his name is gone from me, but I'll remember it in a minute. But he is most acclaimed to what was called the relaxation response. And the relaxation response, he wrote his PhD on. And the relaxation response is about taking a breath in, holding the breath for about 4 or 5 seconds, letting the breath out, pausing for 4 or 5 seconds, and doing it again. So it's very like the square, the shape of a square. And that's what people call box breath. So he did his thesis on box breath. He showed that box breathing could lower your heart rate, could lower your blood pressure. And in fact, if you do box breathing about 7 or 8 times in a row, like 7 reps, 3 times a day, you won't need you, because you can actually control your blood pressure better than most medications. But you have to get into the habit of doing it every day. Now, that sort of thing is very uplifting to a lot of patients, the idea that you don't have to take certain tablets, but it's exceptionally powerful for making you feel good. It's exceptionally powerful if you're that type of person, say that you're very grateful, if you're more optimistic, if you're a happier person. There is also abundant research, very good research actually, from Harvard graduates, that they live much longer. They do much better when it comes to medication. They do much better when it comes to cardiac rehabilitation. As much as you might think, I've had a heart attack, I am absolutely screwed, I've tried all these things in the past, nothing's going to happen. So the big trick for the viewer in terms of changing behavior, it's actually your mindset that determines the success in your behavior much more than anything else. And I go into a lot of detail around that in the book, because the mind-body medicine connection is the fact that if you can work it out in your own head that you are healthier and you can fulfill that by taking certain steps every day, the reality is you will succeed and you will sustain behavior change. Whereas if you cannot get it right inside of your head or get the mindset piece right, you won't have the connection between your mind and your body. And you know, if you think very negatively, and it's very hard not to because the way the world is, unfortunately, you don't do as well. You just don't do as well. You won't change as easily. And regrettably, that's the group of patients who you see much more of, who struggle a lot and struggle until I can get the situation of trying to change their mind. So on my coaching program, every single person for the first class learns the habit of gratitude. I teach it to everybody because it is powerful in terms of lowering stress levels. It is incredibly good for your health. It is incredibly good for helping you sleep. For those of you who don't know what the power of gratitude habit is, gratitude is just about being nice to yourself. It's largely about taking a moment, say when you lie down in bed on your pillow tonight, and you just think of, say, 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for today. Maybe just listening in on this. And the important thing, like every habit we said at the beginning, is you have to celebrate it. Now, when you're in the bed, you mightn't feel like celebrating, but you could just smile. Or you could perhaps lift your hand for a little high five or something, and then go to sleep. And the trick is to get into the habit of doing that. Say when you're lying down, going to bed, it's a good time because your brain is turning off. It'll help you sleep better. That's very obvious. You could do it first thing in your morning when your brain is also very much just waking up. Now, if you don't like that, you're somebody who likes to write things down, you could write it down on a piece of paper, 1 or 2 things you're grateful for. But even being nice to people, putting a smile on your face when you meet people, doing random acts of kindness, just being generous, they're all moments of gratitude. And if you adapt that as your way of being, you'll actually turn out to be much more healthy. And it shows out in the data. You'll live a lot longer. And you'll find life, in truth, is much more enjoyable. So I am a massive advocate of being grateful and practicing gratitude. And everything you do, no matter how bad you might think it is, no matter, even if you go out for a walk in the lashing rain, be grateful for the fact that you have a pair of legs, or be grateful for the fact that you got out the door. It's as simple as that.
And what is your favorite kind of type of physical activity? Because you're obviously a very busy man. Like, what's your favorite pillar to practice? You probably do them all.
I don't. To be honest with you, I got into the gratitude and trying to become a little bit better in terms of mental health because of busyness. I think over time, the greatest value I have found from lifestyle medicine is becoming more self-aware of my own day-to-day behaviors. And in doing that, I've developed a skill where I can stop for a minute and see, well, I'm under a lot of pressure. Instead of trying harder, which is a natural instinct of most people, I will try to step back and say, hang on a second, what am I doing wrong today that I can do better tomorrow? I also have a habit, a kind of a scoring list where I will look at each of the pillars every day and say, okay, did I do 30 minutes of exercise today? Did I get a good night's sleep last night? Did I eat 2 fruit and 5 veg? Did I sleep okay? Did I do any things I shouldn't do? And I try and say, well, tomorrow, what can I do better? In terms of the exercise, I like going to the gym, not all the time. I like going out walking. We have a dog. I also do like playing paddle tennis. I used to play tennis. I try and get in a bit. So I try and do something. One of the simple things for all of you is, if you work in an office, try and take the stairs instead of taking the lift. If you'd never done it before, go up 1 flight of stairs, get off the flight of stairs, go back in the lift then. The following day, do the next flight. But just try and do little things like that, like parking the car a little bit further away from work. That is just trying to do something. All the other pillars are the same. It's trying not to overdo things. And I'm a firm believer in the 80-20 rule, because I firmly believe if you try to be perfect, you tend to get very stressed out and you undo all the benefits of everything else you try doing. So, if it's your birthday tomorrow night, go and enjoy your birthday. Don't go out for the run first thing on Saturday morning. Maybe if you're going to go for the run, do it on Sunday. You have to celebrate those little things in life, like your birthday, like your family, like your holidays. You can't turn around and try to turn yourself into somebody that you're not naturally. And, you know, it's the same for everybody. And in fact, that'll make you sick if you try to be perfect at everything you do.
Yeah, and it's really about that self-compassion, being kind to
Yeah.
yourself, being your own best, like your own cheerleader. And yeah, nobody is perfect. We're all human. We will make mistakes. But I feel like you're an exceptional human at everything you've accomplished so far. And it's been a privilege to have you on tonight. Um, I just want to remind, if anyone just joined later, about your book, The Heart Book. I highly recommend it. And it's really practical. There's lots of kind of bullet points and short paragraphs, which I like, and short chapters. So yeah, if anybody wants to get it, it's in most bookstores now. I'd say like Easton's have it, and you can get it online, definitely.
Yeah. You can get it on Amazon, or you can get it in most bookstores.
Brilliant. So what's next for you? Will you, anything in the pipeline?
So I have that book. I actually have two other books that have come out since that time. I wrote a book chapter on habits with an American thought leader called Jack Canfield. And I've just recently written an educational book with the positive psychology group in the College of Surgeons. So the book writing has been very busy. I'm currently trying to scale up the coaching, and I've decided to go into a bit of public speaking. So for any of you who are going to the Future Beauty event in the RDS in 2 weeks' time, I am on a keynote, I think it's 11 o'clock on the Saturday morning. That will be a largely female-orientated event, but if you want to learn a little bit more about your heart health, or to meet me in person, or even to get a signed copy of my book, I will be at that.
Brilliant.
And I'm even at a Yoga Ireland event in the afternoon. So I've been asked to do all sorts of things to advocate lifestyle medicine. So I'm absolutely delighted to be able to do all that. And in the day job, I spend my time seeing cardiology patients.
Well, look, make sure you have some time off as well. But that sounds brilliant, and absolutely congratulations to you. Was this your first Instagram Live?
This is my first Instagram Live. I've done them on other channels, so I think this is great. I think I'm going to start doing this in reverse. I'll have you back soon enough.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, I'm delighted it worked out, and I want to thank everybody for listening and for joining, and I'm sure people got loads out of that. So it'll be shared so people can watch it back as well. So I'll tag you in it all, and yeah, hopefully we will speak soon.
Great. Thank you so much.
So much.
I really enjoyed that.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.